Hey guys, how's it going? Dane at ZIMM'S Guitars. I got a customer showcase guitar to show you guys. If you're a Greenday fan, you gotta check this one out. Alright, so I've got Johnny D down here today.
How's it going, everybody?
And he brought this guitar in, so let's take a look and see what you brought in today.
Awesome, thanks Dane. So what we have here is a 1960 Gretsch double anniversary. Came out of their Brooklyn, New York factory. But what makes this guitar incredibly special is that it came out of the private collection of Billie Joe Armstrong. And,
awesome.
And it was actually part of the Reverb store that they had back in the end of 2017.
I remember that.
Yeah, right. So they were just trying to get rid of Trey and all the guys. They had a lot of amps. They had a lot of drum equipment, and of course they had a lot of guitars too. And this was one of the guitars, part of that sale.
Well, do me a favor and lift it up out of this case, and let's set it up on the top of the case so I can kind of get a good look at it.
Sure, of course.
Because we want to see this thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So it comes with the original case, which is a little worse for wear, but I just can't believe how stunning the thing is.
1960.
1960, so it's 60 years old.
What's the model number of this?
I want to say it is it's like a 6118 or 6119, I want to say.
Is it inside there?
Normally it is, but it may have just faded over time. Again, if you Google the Gretsch Anniversary Sunburst, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a 6118 or 119. But don't hold me to that. I'll have to check that.
I have a good friend, Nathan, that comes in my store and helps me do videos a lot, and he loves everything about Gretsch. Here, set it up on this case right here.
Sure.
Let me see if I can see what this model number is in here.
Maybe in the light we can see it. But what makes this guitar also incredible is that the binding on it is almost perfect. And as anybody knows that has a Gretsch from the 60s or the 50s, that the binding rot tends to happen a lot.
From leaving it in the case too much.
That's what they say. So this one had to have been out of its case for a good period of time because the glue in it that they used at the time, some kind of chemical reaction that happened with the case, or if it wasn't stored under the proper climate, then it just went to pot. So it just wasn't good. So
yeah, for 1960, this is in incredible shape.
And it's no wonder that Billie Joe picked it up at some point. Clearly, he didn't buy it new, but he clearly saw this probably when they're on the road. This is all too common for bands like Greenday. They like Joe Bonamassa does it all the time. Whenever he's on tour, he goes to local guitar shops and things, and he finds those stellar guitars.
You have a day off and you go out on Guitar Bazaar.
Right, they go exploring. So my guess is Greenday was probably on tour in the 2000s at some point, maybe in the 90s, and they just had some downtime, and sure enough, Billie Joe found it. Now this guitar, you can actually see it, Billie Joe playing it in the studio when Greenday was recording the song Troublemaker.
Troublemaker, okay, let's look at that.
We'll look at that, yeah. So in 2012, you can see Green Day in the studio, and Billie Joe is playing this exact guitar on that song. So it's pretty phenomenal. You can see him in many different positions playing it. There's a lot of cuts in the video, but it's
Green Day's really out on the road right now, doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah. They're with Fall Out Boy and Weezer doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I like these little inlays. These are called the thumbnail inlays.
Thumbnail inlays, that's right. Yeah, they're great. And then the nice thing on the nameplate here, it has the anniversary model. This guitar, so the Gretsch company started in, I think, the year 1883. And in 1958, as part of the 75th anniversary of the company, they started this model. This model had only been out for 2 years when this one left the factory. So this is the second year, or really third year in production, because it started in '58 after the 75th anniversary of the Gretsch company. So.
And what year did Gibson buy Gretsch? No, Gibson bought Epiphone.
Baldwin bought Gretsch in 1967. So I guess the Gretsch family, around 66, 67, they decided to sell out. And the Baldwin company, known obviously for piano making, they acquired it. They just wanted to expand their business lines. And for a long time, through the 60s and 70s and into the 80s, I want to say they were making Gretsch. And it's arguably the quality went down, a bit for that period. So this really is part of the golden age of Gretsch before that initial corporate sellout.
But now Fender owns Gretsch,
Right,
don't they?
so
or they distribute them?
Fender, I think in the 90s picked up Gretsch. And now I think they sold Gretsch. And I'm not sure who owns it now. It may actually be back in the hands of the family. I want to say Fred Gretsch Jr. or something may have actually bought it. But yeah, definitely.
So a 1960 Gretsch anniversary sunburst.
Yep.
So maybe I'm thinking when they say anniversary, is that sort of like a reissue of the 1960?
Well, it's the anniversary, the 75th anniversary of the company.
I get
from
you.
1958. So they kept this particular guitar running until I think the 1977 maybe. So the anniversary model, they made a lot of them. But again, to find one in this kind of condition is just incredible. And then when you add the Billie Joe factor into it, it just kind of puts it off the charts cool.
And your story when you bought this off of Reverb, you first
Yeah.
saw that somebody had it posted for like $10,000 or something.
10 grand, yeah. So whoever bought it was trying to sell it for 10 grand. I think to the right fan, it's worth every penny of that, but I was able to get it for a much discounted price than that.
Right.
And I might be having it up again on Reverb. You know how it goes with kids and the wife and just life. Sometimes you have too many guitars you may have to sell. So I might be posting this. Definitely keep an eye on Reverb.
Well, maybe we can get, if you ever post it on Reverb, then we can put a link in the description down below and you guys can see it on there.
Yeah.
I see it just has a little tiny bit of just, it needs cleaned up a little tiny bit.
Yeah, maybe just a bit.
But yeah,
but I mean, and then back of the neck here, there's a little bit of love right there. But there's no evidence of any kind of neck reset, neck issues. I think the frets are original. They seem to still have some life in them as well. These are so clean. I don't know if they were the tuning heads, if they were polished at some point, taken off, but they do seem to be stock from as far as I can tell. I mean, again, I'm not a professional to be able to diagnose that, but I mean, it's just such a clean guitar that again, owned by a bona fide rock star. Even if you're not a Greenday fan, I think you can still.
I'm a huge Greenday fan.
Yeah, I love them too. I mean, in the '90s, when I was learning guitar in the mid '90s, I mean, everybody had Dookie. Everyone had that album with When I Come Around and Basket Case.
Right.
Those are just some amazing tunes that still hold up today.
And then even my daughter, that's 25 years old now, we went and saw the Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Oh yeah. I mean, they've had all that
concert together and everything.
They've had some good ballads. When September Ends, I think.
That's right. That song reminds me. All those songs remind me of my daughter.
Yeah. But I mean, they can write the ballads. They can write power punk rock like you wouldn't believe.
They're getting kind of poppy sounding with that new song that they have out. But I'm still a huge Green Day fan.
Absolutely.
So what are the pickups in this thing?
Right, so in 1960, as part of this being a transitional year from 1959 to 60, Gretsch introduced its own in-house single-coil pickup, the Helotron, to replace the Model 200 or the Dynasonic that they had previously been buying.
Helotron.
From D'Armond. So the new pickup, it looked something like a Filtertron with only one row of 6 adjustable pull pieces showing, protected by what was essentially a Filtertron cover with its center band chopped down. But beneath the top plate lurked just one lightly wound coil positioned off to one side of the structure with a magnet attached to its side-on. So, probably they thought of, I mean, financially it probably made sense to try to bring them in-house.
Because they were using D'Armond pickups. Those things are world-famous pickups.
Oh, yeah, no, they are. And so arguably, the value, again, for the 50s Gretches typically is a little higher because, again, 1960, they brought that in-house. With the Helotron pickups, which...
And how would you describe their sound that comes out of these things?
Well, I mean, you can get a really nice, clean, chimey sound out of them, but you can also get that growl, if you put a little distortion on it.
Right.
Thorough good, I mean, you can get...
There you go.
Get, a little bourbon scotch beer sound out of it. But it is a pretty versatile guitar, and it makes sense, why Billie Joe... may have picked this particular model, and not just because of its condition, but the versatility of it.
Right.
He's known typically for playing a lot of like Les Paul Juniors, on stage and things, that are solid bodies. It looked like he had some variation of a Strat.
He's got his old Strat that he plays
from the Dookie era. But you can see him plain as day once again in 2012 on the Troublemaker video that Greenday did when they were around the time they were recording their Uno Dos Tres albums. This song I think was on the Uno album, the Troublemaker song. But if you look at in the studio on YouTube, you can see them, Billie Joe and his guys playing this among other guitars. But he was definitely playing this particular guitar, this exact guitar on
Trying
that
to get
song.
that Brian Setzer groove out of it.
Right.
Tell me about the toggle switches here.
Well, first off, this this one here is the master volume knob,
Right.
And then this switch, I know that I believe that they correlate to the respective pickups there to get a little bit of extra tone to it. And then, of course, you have your volume controls over here on the lower right for each respective pickup too. So it's just the way to kind of cut it off. It is a little tricky though. It's and I'm probably not explaining it just right, but it definitely is kind of a unique wiring system and methodology that Gretsch used, especially in these old school guitars from this era. So. But it definitely is a little bit. It takes a little getting used to for sure.
Yeah. So do you want to play this thing a little bit for us?
Sure. Let's plug it in and
Okay.
see what we can do here.
All right. Here we go.
All right.